Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. I am your host, Sam Randazzo, and I am joined alongside my two beard-growing co-hosts. To my right, it is the one and only Uncle Sam.
Hello.
He had a special announcement today. The beard is on the way back.
The beard is coming back.
The fall beard. Summer is coming to a close. The fall-winter beard's coming.
Yes.
You'll be
Summer beard's done.
You'll be in perfect Christmas form here in a few months.
Yes. Ho, ho, ho.
And to my left, it is none other than Mr. Zolo, Mike Palazzolo.
Hello, God bless.
And behind our new computer, just driving everybody fucking nuts,
Apparently.
it's Bruce the Tugboat Venditti.
Hopefully you guys can tell we're in 4K now. That's why there's a new setup. That's why my head looks extra greasy on video today.
Yeah,
Mine-
We're in
mine
4K.
really
Until
Big.
it uploads, it's going to be 1080 until it uploads.
Oh, okay, got it.
great. So you can watch us 3 hours from now in 4K.
Well, we don't really have, that Wi-Fi for it. So.
Oh my God.
What's
Oh my God, was that a jab? Was that a technological jab?
Throw his helmet at him.
I think
What the
Sam
hell?
was
Even
just
though
there's equipment
Hey, I
shaming
got the
there.
best Wi-Fi at my house.
the whole thing is the Ethernet cable that's plugged into the computer straight into the box was supposed to be able to let us stream in 4K.
It should.
It is.
Yeah, there's nothing like
If it's not, there's an issue.
hardwiring.
So then when I said that we're in 4K,
Yeah, but YouTube has to process it. It's on YouTube's end.
but the point of the cord was to stream in 4K.
Yes, and it still will be.
So why is it not right
After the
now?
fact.
Why is
This
it not
is
right
somebody
now?
that has no idea what the fuck they're doing.
This is
You know that,
in the
right?
wrestling world. There's a work and a shoot. A work is when it's fake and you're working the crowd over. This is a shoot.
This is a shoot.
This is a shoot. He's actually mad at Bruce right now.
If,
And this is
no,
a
no,
discussion that's going to happen after the show.
His fucking helmet across his room and blasting him in the head with
You
it.
didn't come down here and ask for a drill. I would have been done.
If you have any experience
Idiot.
producing a podcast, you can send your resumes to tippedballs@gmail.com.
And Bruce personally will field the resumes to see who his replacement's going to be.
That would be nice, actually.
Anyways, how was your weekend?
Good until I got here. What's
Yeah,
up?
today's been a long day.
My God.
I know.
Exhausting.
I know. You've been back and forth twice already today.
I know.
Really?
Yeah. So, the Silverado had to go see Envy Dave.
Is that why there's a black
Shout out to
Cherokee?
Envy Dave.
So the Grand Cherokee came out of
Yeah.
the stable today.
Yes.
So he came to the group, and then I took him home from the group. He went back to work,
Jesus.
and then came back to record.
Jesus.
That's
Which group?
dedication.
Which group did you go to? Group West or original group?
Group
I don't
West.
even know what the place
Group
is anymore.
Yeah, it's
I don't know
gone.
what it is.
It's not. Hey, it's not
There's
your.
so
it's,
many groups. There's so many.
It's not
groups,
your
we don't even
granddad's
know
group,
where-
and there might be more groups
I'm
coming,
confused.
from what I understand
yes,
too.
there's gonna be more groups.
I miss it when it was just Dave.
Yeah, same.
He's the only guy I've seen the last 4 times I've been there. Is Dave.
Anyways, how was your weekend?
Mine was good. Had a family party. I went to SummerSlam on Saturday.
Oh yes, how was that?
Went to SummerSlam. SummerSlam was nuts, and it was my Oh yeah.
You're
big,
a wrestling fan?
Big wrestling.
Did
guy.
not know that.
Big wrestling. Still a big wrestling guy. Never gave up on it. It was a blast. The building was packed. Packed. I've never seen Ford
60,000
Field like
at
that.
Ford Field, huh?
Yeah, 60,000. They had WrestleMania 23 there, and that was crazy. There was about 90,000 there for that. But this was good. Like, the building looked great. And I haven't watched it on TV yet, but it was fun. It was
I
a lot of
went
fun.
to one years ago. It was at the Silverdome.
That was WrestleMania 3. That's the one that started it all.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 3. It's at the Silverdome. That was
great.
the biggest
I could not believe
WrestleMania.
the people that would get into that. It was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Listen, I grew up with
What are you
the
trying to
guys-
say? I haven't grown up?
Huh?
No, I'm kidding. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but I mean, Hulk Hogan was the guy when I was growing up. He was
In
the
some
guy.
instances, he's still the guy.
Sorry?
The Warrior.
was kinda before
Ultimate
him a
Warrior
little bit.
came a couple years after
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan, but at WrestleMania 3, there's a few marquee matches, but the big one was Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant.
Yes.
Which was big, but one of the greatest, like there's actual people who sit down and watch every match and break down every move, and one of the highest rated matches of all time is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Superfly Jimmy Snuka. Oh, I'm sorry, it was Randy Savage. Excuse me, Macho Man Randy Savage versus Jimmy Snuka, or excuse me, versus I don't even remember who it was, but that was on the card at WrestleMania 3. It's considered one of the best matches of all time. Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat. Excuse me. I sound like a bad wrestling fan, and I know that, and I've seen the match 10 times. I just get
My
them
brother
mixed
was
up.
a big Randy Macho Man Savage guy.
He was one of the best.
He was. He's a big.
People still emulate Randy
I
Macho
used
Man
to like
Savage.
the old interviews with Hogan.
Yeah.
How he would come out there and he would pop the tricep out.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something,
Yeah,
brother.
let me tell you something, brother. And he'd start all that shit. It was pretty entertaining to watch. I actually thought, to be honest with you, and I've been seeing some of that stuff over the decades and stuff. I thought the Rock and the Stone Cold dude were outstanding.
Outstanding.
They were
So,
outstanding. They took the sport to another level.
one of the reasons, and we're almost done with tipped wrestling, I promise. Sam's head's buried in his laptop.
Boxing after that.
And then there's a boxing element to it too. Logan Paul opened the card on Saturday, and then literally when his match was done, it was the first match. He hopped on a plane in his wrestling gear, hopped on a plane and went to go watch Jake Paul fight, and made the fight on.
Saw that.
Ever.
Saw that. It was awful boxing.
Yeah, I'll show you this video of Logan Paul was right in front of me coming out. But anyways, we're almost done with tipped wrestling. Just back on The Rock, there was a rumor he was going to come out for two reasons. Number one, there's a SAG strike right now, and we've been waiting for The Rock to come back for a while because he's part of the biggest wrestling family ever, which is the NOI wrestling family. And his cousin is Roman Reigns, who's the top guy in the company right now. And the main event at SummerSlam was Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. There's a set of twins, Jimmy and Jey Uso, and then their brother, Solo Sikoa. They are all cousins. The Rock, Roman Reigns, the Usos. The Usos are Rikishi's son. They go back to Yokozuna, who's another name you might know, Umaga, all these different names. They're
All
all
the
related.
Islander dudes.
All the Islanders. So down the road, The Rock and Roman Reigns are supposed to wrestle on an upcoming WrestleMania. It probably won't be next year. It's going to be the year after. So everyone thought The Rock was going to come out and intervene, and he didn't. But this is tipped wrestling for you.
It's tipped wrestling. Any tipped meats updates?
No tipped meats this weekend. No. I had ribs.
I
Were they good?
Good. Mama Rosa's ribs.
I just went and bought some stewing beef, so I don't know what to do with it yet. I might marinate that overnight.
He's really breaking it down.
Talking about marinating it. When I talk about meat, it's the most sensual thing there is. That's it.
All right. We're going to get into football talk. And before we hit our stride here, I don't like to talk shit about people, but it's pretty well documented here that you're not the biggest fan of Colin Cowherd.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
So yesterday, Colin Cowherd on his show was going through a list of quarterbacks that he believed could win a Super Bowl and who could win playoff games, right?
Okay.
And there was I think, the ones that could win Super Bowls were as follow, Hurts, Mahomes, Allen, right? And then he had guys who could win playoff games, so it was Goff. And then he had an entire list of about 30 guys who he believed could not win, were not quarterbacks that could win a Super Bowl. And he drew a little bit of controversy for this. Because about 5 or 6 names down on his list, you know who he had on there?
Tom Brady?
No.
Oh.
Can I say it?
Go ahead.
Can I say
Dak
it?
fucking Prescott?
You didn't see this?
You didn't,
No, I did not.
Dak Prescott was on that list, I believe. Or no.
I think
he was on
Goff
the list
was
of
on the
playoff
list, too.
games. Goff was
playoff
on a list
game?
of playoff winners.
Okay.
Okay, you
Goff
ready
and
for
Prescott,
this?
But on the list of guys who could
Geno
not win a
Smith?
Super Bowl. Take it away.
Do you remember someone by the name of Dwayne Haskins?
He's dead.
That couldn't have gone any.
He is indeed
That
dead.
couldn't have
That
gone
was on
any more
Colin Cowherd's
perfect.
He's in,
list?
yes, Colin
Well, he needs
Cowherd
to fire his little fucking
on
people
his-
that do his prep for him.
on his list of.
That's absolutely absurd.
I mean, I don't know how you.
I think he's right.
I'm gonna do
He's-
something stupid.
He's right.
I'm
He's
gonna do
never
something
gonna win
really
a Super
stupid.
Bowl.
He's never gonna win a Super Bowl.
No.
And he probably wouldn't have either.
He's never going to win a game.
So there's two ways to dissect this. Number one is how did that happen?
I have no idea how you work for one of the largest media companies in the world. And
And you're
that flips through.
you supposedly have a show, and you're the guy that I'm sure he overlooks. He looks through his shit
Mm-hmm.
before he starts barking his fucking stupid opinions. Well, what are you doing?
So people make mistakes like on this show
Yeah.
all the time.
I make mistakes constantly.
I fumble for name. I make a mistake every 15 minutes, and I fumble for names that just don't come to my head fast enough because there isn't an intern in my ear in the control room telling me, and I don't have a computer in front of me. So sometimes I can't think of things in time, and I can understand. I'm gonna go in a little bit of defense of him right now. I can understand why a mistake like that was made because Colin Cowherd. So first things first, did you guys know he's been flirting with ESPN, going back to ESPN?
I
you
did
hear
hear that. Yep.
They're talking about sending him back to ESPN, which means that's good for him because things are all things considered booming at ESPN right now with their new deal. That being said, Colin Cowherd does 3 hours of radio or TV by himself every day. That's a lot of content to come up with and talk about, and he gets guests, and it's tough. That being said, you need a little bit of oversight on something like that. I can understand why he would say something stupid and forget about Dwayne Haskins dying. But the counter to that is there's got to be someone in that room. There's enough of a team there. Like, we have a team. There's 4 of us. So there's a system of checks and balances to figure it out. And if it gets by the 4 of us, we're fucked. Like, shame on us for letting it get by us.
Correct.
But we're not going to let that happen. We're always there to keep us in check. Whereas he's got at least, there's probably a few people working on his show. Let's call it 10. And one of 10 people between either a cameraman, a producer, a
what
writer.
about him seeing it himself?
Yeah, well,
He's reading it. He's saying it.
That's
What
only
the
one
fuck?
person. That's only one person.
Right.
But someone else. Yeah, you're saying if he read it.
Yeah, if
and-
he's
Wait, this
listening to
guy's
what
dead.
These people are telling him, and they say Dwayne Haskins. Hello, the guy's he died on a freeway. Hello, he got hit by a truck.
I just it's-
Everybody knows it.
the worst part about it was he never corrected it. He just kept going.
Yeah, he did.
Has anything? I haven't re-upped with this. Has anything been said since then?
No,
Has there been an
no
apology?
tweet, no nothing.
Yeah, and that was a
We have
big
radio
deal yesterday.
silence.
That was everywhere
Correct.
yesterday.
I mean, radio silence. See, I agree with him to where if one person could miss it, because God knows we've definitely put somebody in the wrong team.
Well,
or
if
put
somebody did
in-
miss it because
didn't know
he's got to
Savage
show,
Steamboat.
nobody's going to
Yeah,
say, "Hey,
I mean-
hey, we told you Dwayne Haskins. Maybe you should apologize for saying his name. That he's never going to make a Super Bowl. Well, he's never going to make a team anymore. It is what it is, dude. Stop. He fucked up. Own it. You fuck up. Own it.
I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure some long
He
statement
should.
is coming.
He should do it.
It's egregious in the sense that the guy is dead. And again, huge Michigan fan. You guys know that about me. I had a blast watching Dwayne Haskins in college. I was really disappointed with how his career was shaking out. He probably had a chance to maybe make something. Where was he? Pittsburgh when he died or something like
You
that?
know what?
I know he died in Florida.
That's really
but
tough to say.
yeah.
Because everybody that I don't want to sound like I'm bashing the guy.
Yeah.
But everybody that had talked about him, he had a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why his career was going in the tailspin that it was.
Regardless, I'm sad that we won't see that story shake out. It's always sad when someone's under 25 or 26 years old and they pass away. That's younger than Bruce. So it's always sad when that happens.
That age,
was that face?
that
Face?
age range doesn't surprise me at all.
And regardless, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins. It's sad. I hope that Colin Cowherd's able to rectify this. I think it's going to set him back a little bit. I don't think it I don't like Colin Cowherd. I don't listen to him. I don't think this negates anything he's done. But like, you got to come up with something to tell people how it happened, why it happened. And because it's a pretty big mistake and it's sad, and I hope for the best in the situation for all parties.
It's tough when these guys get as big as guys like him and Skip Bayless. When they get that big, they get this God syndrome to them, and they think they can do no wrong. You know,
I'm with
and
you.
that's an issue. Them guys,
Alvin Kamara.
Skip Bayless, I watched him belittle his partner for so long. That's why he left. And it is what it is, dude. Do your own show then. Do your own show. Don't sit there and have a guy on there just to argue with him. It's bullshit. I mean, we got Bruce.
Howdy.
Yeah. We can argue with Bruce 24/7, but it's fucking just exhausting.
I like a good argument, though.
Let's move on to the Lions, who have a new quarterback. So I guess all of the Nate Sudfeld smoke and mirrors we've heard for the last couple of years, finally, that cat's kind of out of the bag now that he's not that good.
R.I.P. Nate.
One of Uncle Sam's favorites of all time, Teddy Ball
Teddy
game.
Ball
now in
game.
The Honolulu
Teddy Ball
Blues.
game.
So there we go. That's a big piece of news.
They've upgraded the position very much. Very much.
You think Teddy Ball game's that much better than Suds?
Has a lot more experience and won a lot of games.
True.
That's all I'm going to say. He stepped in for a legend and took over, and they didn't miss a beat with him. So I would say it's pretty good.
I think this is an indicator of two things. Thing number one, they didn't love their quarterback room, clearly. And they didn't feel, and we had this conversation a couple weeks ago with Kaepernick. And have I said, I know I've said it in my personal life to people, but have I said on this show how, okay, I'm off on a tangent here, but in my opinion, no matter how you feel about the Lions this year, whether you think they're going to choke, whether you think they're really good or not, whatever, in my opinion, this is and I've said this last week, I think, because you and I talked about it. This is the deepest Lions team of my lifetime. It's the deepest. I'm not calling it the best, maybe the most hyped for sure in my lifetime, but position-wise, at every group, this is before Teddy Bridgewater. This is the deepest of my lifetime. Can you guys agree with that?
Agree.
Like, good guys are going to get cut in a couple weeks.
Yes, I
Okay.
agree with that. I think it's the deepest they've been since the early 90s.
Okay, fair. Done. We're
Since the
done
early
there.
90s. I really believe that.
The one position, and I thought I mentioned on the show, if not, I'm going to sound like I'm stealing everyone's thunder, but the one position going into this signing that they were not deep at was what?
Quarterback.
We don't feel good with Nate Sudfeld taking us to the playoffs if something happens to Goff. Okay? We don't feel good about that.
Agreed.
You feel better about this. This is a guy is at a minimum, he's capable of running an offense. Did he get into that playoff game last year against when the Dolphins played the Bills? Did he get into the game? I can't remember.
He got hurt, if I'm not mistaken.
He got hurt, but he serviceably ran the Dolphins' offense.
He got hurt. They were doing well with
and
him.
their third stringer
He
came
got
in.
hurt,
and they still almost beat the Bills.
Not Texas Tech. Kansas State came and stepped in.
I don't remember.
The kid from Miami.
That wasn't
Yeah. He came in after
Thompson.
Bridgewater got
Skylar
hurt.
Thompson.
Skylar
Thompson.
Skylar
He
Thompson.
came in and was running all over the place.
But until he got injured last year, I feel like Teddy Bridgewater was doing a great job with Waddle and with Tyreek Hill and with
Teddy
everything.
did
going.
not play in that Buffalo game.
Okay, got it.
It was all
He was
Skylar
already
Thompson.
he was
hurt
already
before
injured.
that, no?
He was hurt before that.
The game before.
Correct.
You at least have a little peace of mind that things are in a better standing with Bridgewater than they are with Sudfeld. Now, I think the counter to this signing is this is also indicative on where Hendon Hooker is or what they feel about Hendon Hooker at the moment, which I guess is a negative. But this is the perfect guy to mentor. We talked about this when they brought Bridgewater in free agency. This is the perfect guy to mentor Hendon Hooker coming off of a catastrophic injury and similar playing styles, similar quarterbacking styles. So I think there's an element of that here as well. He's in a mentorship role for this year, and this allows them to keep Hooker on PUP for as long as possible and not burn a roster spot, and then it bridges Hooker into next year. I think that's where this signing is
And then they
kind
take
of
Sudfeld and stick him on the practice squad.
That's what I think.
That's probably what a wide up happened.
I agree.
Yeah.
Another little piece of Lions news here that I actually kind of found interesting because, I mean, every Lions game seems like it's sold out, right? Every single seat in the stadium is always full. But this year will be the first time in the history of Ford Field that the Lions sold out their season tickets. Sold out. Sold them all. There are none left. If you snooze, you lose. You're not getting season tickets.
There's a wait list.
There's a wait list to get Lions season tickets. Now, I never even thought twice about this because I just figured every year the Lions sold out their season tickets. But is this hype train running a little too fast right now?
No.
Full speed ahead.
No, especially we're going to get to it, but especially after seeing these practices with the Giants. No, I don't I don't think the hype train's running too fast. Like there's a lot to like. It's shit or get off the pot this year, and barring some injuries, this is how it's supposed to be. I think 24, including the Lions, there's 24 franchises that have sold out their season tickets for the year. And it's about time to be in that picture. And it just goes to show you, I mean, we're a loyal town. This is a rant that I always go on about the Lions, but you don't choose this. You don't choose 0-16. You don't choose one playoff win in 30-plus years or in one championship since 1957. You don't choose that, okay? You're born into that. And we have some of the best, most loyal fans in sports. That's what makes Lions fans great. So I get the apprehension from the people that have been sick of it and say, oh, no, the Ford's got to sell the team. I'm never showing up. They always let you down. I get it. But this goes to show that there is enough people this year that are into it.
That for years has just boggled my mind.
What?
People just constantly blame owners for their teams being as shitty as they are. In a process that I've seen for the past 45 years that I've seen the Lions playing, I think the issue has always been, do they hire the right people? And a lot of teams don't do that. And I think for years and decades, the Lions just had the wrong people in place. It's not like we've hired bad people here over the years. Steve Mariucci, he took the 49ers to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not like the guy was total dog shit. Was he good here? No, he was horrible. You know? But these are the guys that you're the people that were brought in to run this organization always shit the bed.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't remember players ever coming to Detroit and developing. That, to me, has always been a fucking issue for decades.
Well, that's a very good point to make. Speaking of players who have came here, not developed, Jeff Okudah was carted off the field at Falcons practice this week. They're saying now he should be back, right?
Should be back for the beginning of the season, I think.
Yeah, but just
Okay.
I mean,
Or not the beginning, but he should be back at some
bad
point.
for him, you know.
I saw
that?
he could
Too
miss
bad for
miss
him.
the first 3 to 4 weeks of the year is what I read on here. So, I mean, my God, just what a train wreck.
I feel bad for him just because nothing's really gone his way.
Yeah.
No,
Nothing's gone his way. Nothing.
So
mean-
the difference between him and there's a lot of picks that we didn't like that haven't panned out.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between him and let's say like an Eric Ebron, I wasn't big on Hawkinson. I thought that was a horrible pick.
I did too.
And there's guys over the year, Laken Tomlinson's one I can think of. Like there's guys that I just couldn't stand them.
Who's still in the league, by the way,
Still in
and
the
he's
league.
very.
And I think he played in a Super Bowl in
played
San
in the
Francisco,
Super Bowl
right?
in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So guess what? He wasn't a bust.
No, he just
No.
wasn't worth where they picked him. And the guy, not the point. Okudah was never the play.
He wasn't developed here.
Wasn't-
That was the issue.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to get to. The difference between him and a lot of other guys that, like, even Hawkinson, Okudah never said a bad word about the city. He never gave you anything to complain about. He just never panned out in the field, but you never heard about him in the news. And it made me want to root for him in Atlanta. And I was sad. I was genuinely sad to see he was carted off. I'm like, shit, not again, that poor kid. But I hope he comes back. I hope he's a part of their defense. It's sad the way things played out here and that he'll never be able to live up. You pick a corner at 3, they better be Deion Sanders. And he wasn't. And we knew that in real time. And I'm rooting for him. I hope he comes back, and I hope he makes noise in that division.
corner's been playing this week here, too, in Allen Park. What's that? Awarie kid, Amani Awarie.
He's back.
Yeah, he's back here in Detroit, and some of these Lion guys kind of chewed him up a little bit here.
I think it was one that didn't play. C.J. Gardner-Johnson didn't play with him, unfortunately, which makes it a little less fun. But I think he had a lot to say to him yesterday. I know what you're talking about.
I heard Kirby Joseph was in
Kirby
on this
Joseph,
too.
did he?
Yes.
I love that. I didn't know that element of it.
Yeah, they chewed him up talking about he ain't here anymore because he doesn't have any grit. And that's talking some mad shit right there. And I guess he ate it for a while, wasn't really saying anything, and then he kind of fucking got heated.
He's giving it back now.
Oh, yeah. It was getting heated. I like that. I like that.
You like a little shit talking here and there.
No, it's
don't
not.
you?
You know what? It's not that. I mean, it is what it is. Let's say what it is.
I mean, if you
why
back
isn't
it
he
up-
here? He was dog shit last year. The year before, the kid stepped up. He was one of the best players on the team.
No, you're right.
His first year here, he was good. And then last year, it was like he fucking forgot how to play football. I was like, what the fuck? Nothing changes that fast. There's obviously issues. And you know what? It just shows you how hard this game is. That you could be good one year and gone the next.
Jameer Gibbs, you got a little
guy's
insight
gonna
into his training camp for us so far?
Come on.
Yeah, Bruce, I hope you're able to post it eventually. But we're seeing these clips of Bijan Robinson burning people, and I'm seeing wide receiver clips of Tyreek Hill. Dude,
Tyreek
Gibbs-
Hill, I watched him utterly turn a guy completely in a circle.
Okay.
It was ridiculous.
Gibbs did the same thing.
I know he
To the Giants gave a lot of money to Bobby
4
Okereke.
years, $40 million.
Yeah, that was their big. I think he was already on the team. They extended him. But that clip of Gibbs burning him in practice yesterday. I mean, all of the Lions' young guys.
Was it just
Cooked
burned?
him.
It burned him by about
Yeah.
8 yards,
And
9
then,
yards.
And then he J-mo'd. He caught up to an underthrown ball afterward. And an overthrown ball, excuse me. And damn, like I'm getting more. The Lions got the Gibbs thing on paper today as it stands with all the evidence and all the context. I think they got the Gibbs thing right. I understand why they did it now. And he's slowly morphing into one of the players I am most excited. Offensively, it's him and St. Brown. Players I'm most excited to see this year. So I'm pumped. And these practices are going so well. And
Hopefully,
I'm going to miss the preseason game.
Hopefully,
but
it continues in the game day.
yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the key. The key is for them to perform when it can be Friday night. Let's see what happens.
Part of these joint practices also we're getting to see the Giants a little bit. And Daniel Jones, it looks like struggle at first, big time, but then it looks like he wrapped up yesterday looking at least halfway decent. I haven't paid too much attention to him so far. I mean, it seems like the Lions definitely have all of the biggest positives coming out of there. I mean, Amon-Ra has looked great. Brian Branch has looked great. But Daniel Jones, I mean, when you have a great day and a bad day back to back, what does that mean for him? I mean, the thing is about Daniel Jones is we're on social media and through the main media outlets, we're hearing some people have him in the top 10 and some people don't have him anywhere near that. I don't know what to make of Daniel Jones going into this year.
So I've seen two good interviews with Jared Goff and Dan Campbell over the last week. And one of them, I recommend watching. It's about a half hour long. Sports Illustrated sat down with Goff, Brad Holmes, and Dan Campbell all at the same time in the practice facility. It's 30 minutes long. And they were talking about one of the things with Goff that people have been raving about this offseason is his consistency and how consistent he's been. And it goes back to the fact that he was really good about not turning the ball over in the second half of last year and how efficient he is. And part of that comes with being in the same system. I mean, I guess it's a new system last year with Ben Johnson. So we'll call it 2.5 years in his current system. But when they were first getting to the Dan Campbell era and Goff was running to the line in practice, they were having to fix things every 3 plays. Now they're able to self-correct errors, and it leads to less errors, like getting to the huddle in time, breaking the huddle, recognizing defensive schemes, and getting the play in time, and lining up properly every time. And those are consistent things that come with being in a system for X amount of years, and it's consistency. Daniel Jones has not been in the same system. I think this is year 2, right? Wasn't last year the first year with Dable?
Yep.
So those things, there's going to be hiccups. On top of that, he's got new receivers, new guys to throw to. He's got Waller now.
I don't think there's a guy in the league that's got as many new receivers as Daniel Jones.
Yeah, and there's consistency. So it would make sense that, or I'm sorry, excuse me, there's things that would lead to inconsistency. So it would lead to inconsistent performances on the field. it's a matter of in training camp was what the Lions were doing really good on Monday. Because Daniel Jones was able to correct it today. So is he be able to get back on track today? Was what the Lions doing good, or was what the Giants doing bad? But one would think he's going to be a top 12 quarterback. I like watching Daniel. I don't like watching him, but I think his game is serviceable enough to win. It's just a matter of how consistent can you be. And we'll see.
You don't have to be Tom Brady to win a Super Bowl.
No.
You could be Trent Dilfer and win a Super Bowl.
Didn't Theismann win Super Bowl? Or no?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yep.
We should talk about the rest of the league because at the end of the day, we're an all-encompassing NFL show. We can't, as much as I would love to sit here for an hour and a half every week.
I will say this. There was a clown who wrote an article about Jared Goff
Oh God, here we go.
from some stupid website. I don't know where it
Probably
was
some
from.
AI.
But all I'm going to say is this. This clown talked about how much Jared Goff was turning the ball over so far in training camp. And it's just not fucking true. I don't know where he was getting his information from, but the guy's a dumbass. And I'd just like to put that out here.
God bless.
Thank you, Uncle Sam.
God bless that dumbass.
We'll put him on the dumbass of the week list.
Has anyone watched?
He's lucky I don't know his name right now because I would say it.
Did either of you watch episode 1 of Hard Knocks yet?
I actually did.
You did.
The
I
new
did.
Hard Knocks?
I kind of gave
Jets
up.
Knocks.
I have a lot going on in life right now, so I kind of gave up in the middle of the Hall of Fame game portion of it, like towards the second half when the lights went
That was
out.
rough to sit through.
When the lights went out, I stopped watching, but I watched all of the pertinent elements of Hard Cocks, and yeah. You want my thoughts? Is that why you're looking at me like that?
Yeah, I want your thoughts 'cause I haven't watched yet.
I have a couple thoughts. Number one, it was even more of an Aaron Rodgers suck fest than I thought it was going to be. But it was good. It was
a good
it
suck
wasn't
fest?
like it was all pertinent stuff, which I appreciated. Like they did a good job of sucking him off.
Okay. It was pretty.
They did a good job of filleting the Sauce Gardner and Wilson relationship, Garrett Wilson relationship.
I actually
It's a
like
great
their little battles
relationship
that they have.
Yeah,
Man,
they
my
shake
God.
hands. They showed them shaking hands right before a play, and they're cool with each other. I mean, that's a unique situation. It's offensive and defensive rookie in the year, and they go against each other at the same spot and practice every day. Like iron sharpens iron.
That's just going to make them so much better to
Yeah.
go up against each other every day.
And
My God.
Aiden Hutchinson was robbed. Should have been Defensive Player of the Year. I don't care that Sauce Gardner is one of the best corners in the league, but it'll always bother me that, I mean, of course, we lucked out with Hutchinson, but it'll always bother me that Sauce Gardner's from here and that we won't get to have him. I hope he comes here down the road. I just think he's too big for Detroit and that New York's a great spot for his ego. The Suckfest was great. They also, little side gig, Aaron Rodgers refers to, do you guys know who Liev Schreiber is by any chance?
Yes.
He's the voice of Hard Knocks, and he's Ray Donovan. He's in some movies. He's in some other stuff.
Ray Donovan.
Aaron Rodgers calls him the voice of God, and it's the Jets, so there's a lot of celebrities at their practice. Method Man broke down the huddle one time, and he still sounds the same. It was great. A helicopter comes in, and for the first time in Hard Knocks history, Liev Schreiber gets out of the helicopter. Doesn't even sound like he's narrating. Like when you hear him talk, he doesn't sound like he's the narrator of Hard Knocks. So it was just breaking the fourth wall of the narrator shows up on the show. He's not narrating, but Aaron Rodgers sucks him off, which is nice because Aaron Rodgers is usually getting sucked off. It's cool seeing Aaron Rodgers' relationship with the teammates. They all love him. The fans love him. There's one observation that I knew in the back of my head, but that stood out to me. The Lions got their coaching hire correct, in my opinion. I mean, it remains to be seen, but we got our guy. We got Dan Campbell. I hope it works out for him. I hope he's here from years to come. But a lot of us, me included, all wanted Robert Saleh. Yeah. Robert Saleh seems so fucking cool. He seems like his players love him. And more importantly, he seems like an excellent coach. And I'm not completely bought into the Jets just because I don't trust that division. I really think the Bills are still decent. And I think the Dolphins, if healthy, are winning that division. I do. I think they're the most loaded team top to bottom. That being said, like, it's hard.
It's going to be hard for them to crack these guys.
Good coaching is key.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard for them to crack it. But I think Robert Saleh is an outstanding
Robert Saleh's not stupid whatsoever.
No.
He's done a good job hiring all his assistants. And I think that's what's actually putting him to this point where he's as successful as he's been. Because I don't think he would have been there.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't he coach Dearborn?
Yeah, I don't know if he coached Dearborn. He's from Dearborn.
From Dearborn.
He went to Fordson. I don't know if he coached Fordson High School. He's the first
believe he
Muslim
did
coach in the league.
in high school.
We have a lot of
over here.
Lebanese people that listen to us. He's the 5th ever Arab coach. All of them are Lebanese. And he's the first Muslim coach. He's got great New York connections. But he's from here, so you always want to root for him. And it's impressive. And it, like, of course, you wish there was that perfect fit that he came and coached here. But we got our guy. I think the Jets might have their guy. I think he's going to be great for years to come.
He's all great there. Listen. Nobody's as cool as Dan Campbell.
No, the coolest.
Nobody.
The coolest.
I don't see Robert Saleh doing down-ups.
Watch it though, because I want to see what you have to say.
What do
about
you think
people.
about your head coach coming here and doing down-ups with all his players?
He's close to it though. He daps him
mean,
up perfectly.
The one year he fell, broke his wrist, and was still doing them, and he didn't want to tell his guys that he hurt himself.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I'm curious what you guys have to say.
I
about
just
Hard.
want to drink beer with him. I want to go out and get absolutely ass hammered with Dan Campbell. I want to get drunk as
Not
shit
hammered, ass
and howl
hammered,
at the moon.
ass hammered.
Howl at the moon. That's when you know.
Howl, give us a howl. Give us a nice howl.
No howls.
Oh.
But that's when you know. You know it.
So, Henry Ruggs, as we all know,
My
last year
God.
I was going to mention.
went flying down Las Vegas Boulevard. One of them, I don't know, one of the roads, and he
He was
killed
trying to
someone.
take
Yeah.
off down Las Vegas Boulevard
Yeah,
doing
he killed
300 miles an
someone,
hour.
R.I.P. But he is now going to spend the next 3 to 10 years in prison for essentially DUI.
Say that again?
manslaughter. 3 to 10 years.
3 to 10 years.
Sentenced today, 3 to 10 years.
Sentenced today.
I'm sure he'll
Are you
end up.
kidding me?
I'm sure he'll end up more on the 3 end, but he killed someone.
Yeah.
He killed someone.
Are you trying to tell me they're just charging this guy with manslaughter
Yeah.
after he fucking killed 2 people?
Yeah. Was it 2 people or 1?
I thought it was
It was
2.
one person and her dog
Oh,
was in the
my
car.
bad.
Her dog
My
was in the
bad.
car.
Yeah. That's.
I'm wrong.
I think it's going to be more on the 3 end.
That's horrible, dude.
Horrible in what way?
That's fucking It's horrible, dude. Horrible.
Like,
that
you
he
don't think-
killed somebody.
like that you don't
and
think
he's
he got
gonna do
enough
3
time?
years.
Well, I mean, he could do 10. You know, you don't know that.
Guess what?
Any way you spin it, his life is probably over.
Oh, I don't think so. Not at all.
You think he's going to
3
get
to
out
10
in
years?
3? You think he's going to get
Good
out in
behavior,
3?
dude. He's out in 7. That's if he gets to 10.
What's the
I don't
moral of the
see
story?
10 years.
3, he'll do fucking 2.5 years. He'll be out.
What's the moral of the story, Uncle Sam?
What's
what are you
the
trying
moral
to
of
tell
the
us?
story? Don't do 200 miles an hour down to fucking Las Vegas Boulevard at fucking 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, he was drunk.
At
It's,
twice
Drunk
the
off
legal
your
limit.
ass.
At twice
Yeah.
the legal limit. Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
that simple.
And is that justice for that family?
Probably not.
For that person's family that he fucking killed?
Probably not.
No, it's not justice.
So
Absolutely
it's
not.
a minimum of 3 years, and it was not given credit for time served so far.
Even that, dude. Prison years ain't like regular years. You knock 2 months off. Come on now. What the fuck are we doing here? 10 months is a year.
Just don't drink and drive. There's no reason why these guys shouldn't be calling Uber.
He's a fucking
Yeah.
clown. He's a fucking clown, and
Yeah.
it's not justice if he's doing 3 years, or even if he's doing 5 years, half of it. That's not fucking justice. That's not justice. He fucking killed somebody. You go out right now, you fucking kill somebody, you're gonna do 20 years,
So did O.J. Simpson.
and I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
What?
OJ didn't do any years.
What are you talking about? He did 16 years in prison, bud.
That wasn't for killing someone.
No, it was for his memorabilia. He got acquitted. That's the system. This is
Glove
what we're
didn't
talking
fit.
about. Because OJ hired the best fucking lawyers in the United States.
He did do that.
3 of them. Not 1, 3. The dream team of lawyers.
He cornered the market on lawyers.
did.
Yes. And he banged Kardashian's old lady. What's the difference? I mean, what are we fucking doing? Is it fair to these people? Is it fair to the Goldman family that scumbag is walking free today? No. And he's lucky that I'm not Ronald Goldman's dad, because if I was, I'd shoot that fucker in the head right in front of everybody.
Uncle Sam is not cool.
Sorry.
The gist is Uncle Sam is not cool with Henry Ruggs getting 3 to 10 years.
No, I'm not. I'm not cool with it at all.
He
I
wants
think
him
it's
at
fucking
30 to
wrong.
100.
Justice is
Yeah.
It's not justice. That's not justice.
Hey, you want
I'll say this much.
I think anybody deserves justice if they've had a family member killed by a drunk driver.
I do think he's going to get out slightly earlier than that 3 to 10. I
Of
don't
course he
doubt
is.
that.
He's an athlete. He can play football. They're going to let it go. Roger Goodell, do the right thing. Don't ever let this guy fucking play football again. Fuck him.
All right. Anything to add there?
I think we're all set. I'm afraid if I add that,
Can I take
we'll
it
be
back
digging a
little bit?
deep hole.
Well, the hole might get
I'm sorry. Mike.
Speak.
Didn't the Mariota documentary come out? Did anybody watch that?
There's a Mario. Oh, you're talking about Johnny Manziel?
Or Johnny Manziel?
God, you are
I'm-
fucking
dude,
stupid.
I got their names. Sorry.
I have a 15 and a half hour flight and I'm watching it on there. And then while I'm gone, I think all of the Florida ones drop every week.
Gators ones?
Yeah, there's 4 of them. So I'm going to do all of those at one time.
Yeah, so I need to catch up on Hard Knocks, the Manziel
Man,
Did you
documentary.
watch Quarterback?
Man,
I haven't watched Quarterback yet. I got a lot of TV to watch.
You got a lot
I
of
just haven't
content.
I haven't been around. So
a lot of
I
content.
haven't gotten around to
But
asking.
we need to talk about Jonathan Taylor. We talked a little bit last week about how him and Jim Irsay got into a, for lack of a better word, pissing contest on Twitter. But before we talk, I want Zolo to talk a little bit about the piece of news about him. There was a little bit of news about Jim Irsay this week because Jim Irsay
Whalegate.
did not want to pay Jonathan Taylor the $16 million a year that he had requested. But a story has surfaced that said Jim Irsay is paying $20 million to transport a killer whale from a small enclosure in Miami, where she has lived for 53 years, across the United States to the Pacific Ocean so that she can be free.
Okay, before I get into that, Uncle Sam, I got a question for both of you. How many glasses of scotch did it take to get that commitment out of him? You first, Uncle Sam.
Well, it would have to be pretty hefty, Mike. I would say at least a quarter of a bottle.
And what was he drinking specifically? Was there a scotch that he drank?
I don't
Was it
know.
Chivas?
Might have
Was
been
it
Henry
Chivas?
VIII.
Henry the
We don't know.
Louis the 13th.
Louis the 13th.
Cognac.
Yeah,
So the 8,000-pound orca named Lolita,
Lolita.
yeah, is going to
Gadito.
a 15-acre netted area in the Puget Sound.
You know what? If he's got that much money to piss away, throw some our way.
I'm sure 15 acres is more than what Lolita was currently dwelling in, but I feel like that's not
I'm
a
sure
lot.
she was in like a swimming
So
tank
actually,
at SeaWorld somewhere.
hold on. Yesterday, Jim Irsay actually tweeted out a video. It's essentially a hype video for Lolita on Twitter. It says, 50 years ago today, Lolita was captured. It's time for her to go home, and I will do whatever it takes to get her there.
And he used the Colts
it's
PR
just
Does Lolita
team.
jump out of the water and drink a
he's got this
glass
hat
of
on.
Chivas with him?
He's got this hat on. It's from yesterday, Bruce, so it's got to be up at the top.
Okay.
He's got this little hat on, and he's showing videos of the whale swimming around. It's,
Okay.
yeah, this is pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Oh, is that Twitter live on the stream right now?
No.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it.
Okay.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, so 50 years ago today, Lolita was captured.
Signed it.
But anyways,
He's a good guy. That's a good guy right there to do something like that. To
spent
save a
$20 million
whale.
to move a fucking
To
whale.
save a whale.
So
That is awesome.
the gist is like there's been some really like football Twitter and football memeing is always fun. Like it goes back to the what's his face got shot in the thigh, but who's the running back from the Redskins that got shot in the thigh and then came back last year?
Brian Robinson.
Brian Robinson got shot in the leg and came back, and John Mechie had cancer and came back, and Michael Thomas still isn't, shit like that. A funny one is Jim Irsay will spend $30 million or whatever it is to move a whale, but won't pay Jonathan Taylor. I think it's hilarious.
That's pretty tight. That's you got to admit that's tight.
Yeah, no, it's cool and good for Jim Irsay, but you got to remember, like, as much as funny as
Do you
that
think
narrative
he put that
is.
out there just to rub it in?
No, because
on.
because remember these guys there's a salary cap Okay, so if it was up to Jim Irsay and there was no salary cap and this was baseball and he was like the New York Yankees, I'm sure he's giving Jonathan Taylor that $50 million. I'm positive of that. But it doesn't work that way. It's a business and he has to fit it against a salary cap, and that's why Jonathan Taylor isn't getting paid what he is, and that's why Lolita the Whale is getting paid to be moved. So good for Jim Irsay. That's a good guy move.
Incredible.
You know who the real winner here is? Lolita the Whale.
Lolita.
The Whale.
They're going to play I'm Coming Home by P. Diddy as they drop her back into the ocean.
Anthony Richardson, you don't have a running back, but Lolita will thank you for this one. I was surprised to hear this one, but there has been a lot of noise. Well, not surprised about this. A lot of noise coming out of Commanders camp, but I was surprised that Eric Bieniemy was the target of that noise. And a lot of the players so far are not happy with the situation there. So I feel like Eric Bieniemy's been a little bit of a polarizing character as of late, because everybody praised him immensely for what happened in Kansas City. And
For a long time.
for a very long time, everybody said it was all his plan, and that's part of the reasons why Mahomes had flourished. But then when he applied for head coaching jobs, nobody really jumped. Nobody was really there to, sign him up.
I don't think he interviews well, to be honest with you.
Well,
I don't think this guy has the charisma or the I don't know how to be a head coach.
There was something I remember that came up because he interviewed every year.
Yes.
And his
Every year
players
for like
loved
5
him.
years.
And he seems so intense. So I thought something came up last year when he was interviewing, and it just seemed like you're never going to be a head coach. I thought there was something in his past I don't remember, maybe a sexual assault. Please, I'm just trying to recall. I'm not saying he did that allegedly. I'm not saying he is that. Someone has to fact check me in that. But I thought something came up that was preventing him from
You think
being a
that's
head
what's
coach.
keeping him from being
He just
in the
gets-
spotlight?
He had too much success, and I think Andy Reid assistants are hit or miss. I know we had this conversation when the Belichick argument came up, but Andy Reid assistants do tend to do good. So they're hit or miss, but he's got a higher hit rate than Belichick, and it's weird that Bieniemy never got a head coaching job because every player that's played with him played for him has loved playing for him.
Yes. That's what I don't understand, why right now that these players are not buying into him. Because if they're not buying into what he's trying to teach them, they're going to be a big clusterfuck over there.
Bieniemy does have a little bit of a track record. He was arrested in 1988 for assault.
He wasn't in the NFL.
He had his license suspended in 1989 after accumulating 10 speeding tickets in a year.
That's 10. That's about, what, 75% of the NFL?
Was pulled over going 92 in a 65 with a rifle in his car.
There you
Then
go.
the following year, he pleaded no contest to interfering with a firefighter who had been performing his duties to extinguish a fire in his home. And then in 1993, he was arrested for allegedly harassing a female parking attendant. So, could see how that would affect an NFL owner giving him a job. I mean, again, this was 30 years ago.
Right.
I mean, people change in 30 years. I saw a lot of people on the X talking about, you never heard anybody in Kansas City complaining about Bieniemy. Is this just part of the Commanders' lackluster, half-hearted, shitty culture that the players are not used to his coaching style? Because you never heard any noise around Bieniemy in Kansas City.
Well, if I was a player coming into Washington, which they need to change their name back to the Redskins.
No, football team.
Commanders is stupid.
I liked football team.
So
Football team.
You know what? At this point, why would you not want to buy into a system that is going to benefit everybody on that offense there? Why would you not buy into that? Why would you not listen to one of the guys that know this system and that can implement it and really make them dynamic? It's stupid not to take the advice from somebody with that knowledge and just throw it away. It doesn't make any fucking sense. What is Ron Rivera doing?
Yeah, so Piggy, you just hit on something. Piggybacking off of that, I think Ron Rivera is one of the better player coaches in the league. Not to say he's one of the best coaches, but he's one of the best coaches players love to play for because he was a player. He was a very good player. He's gone to a Super Bowl. I think that counts for something. And if I were Ron Rivera, they're going to Ron Rivera with these complaints. I would just say, like, trust me. I know this guy is good. He's got a great track record. He's done well. And I'm talking about...
He needs to stand up and say, hey,
yeah,
this is our OC.
That's what I'm saying.
You need to fucking listen to him.
That's what I'm saying. If I'm Ron Rivera, this is what I'm telling my players. This guy is good. Just buy in a little bit, and good things will happen. And I think that's going to eventually be between their ownership, between Ron Rivera, Bieniemy, some of the personnel that's there. I think that's eventually going to be a very good situation. But you got to buy in. Like, it's not easy. Right. And sometimes you hear this type of thing goes both ways. Sometimes you hear, like, we don't like playing for this guy and he's too intense. And then eventually everything pans out and they buy in and everything goes well. Or it's the opposite, like the Patricia Lyon era. You know, then we don't like this guy. He's not a player's coach. We can't stand working for him. And then it goes
If they got anything like
away.
the shit bag over there that we had here, they're in fucking trouble.
Yeah, I think I'm not allowed to say his name because it just goes off the rails too quick when I talk about him. No, I could say shitbag, but if I say Patricia, it's just triggering for all parties involved.
Okay.
We need to talk about we need to touch on a topic we touched on last week. We were talking about Alvin Kamara, and all of us kind of were in agreement that we thought he would get some. I mean, I think you said 10 games.
What?
You said
He
should have at least got 6 games.
A minimum of 6. I think we were kind of all on the same page with that. He was suspended 3 games.
That's a fucking farce. He stomped some guy into the fucking ground. Once again, here we go. Roger Goodell's an idiot.
I mean, I can't disagree with you, but I know the first thing that.
So you think, okay, so he settled out of court. He paid the guy off. That's basically what happened. Am I wrong there or no? He settled out of court, paid the guy off.
Yeah, he settled out of court. I mean, this is still the league, and they've always...
At what point do you not fucking say, okay, you know what, Alvin? You've embarrassed yourself and the fucking league, and you know what? We're going to sit you for half the season for you to learn your fucking lesson so you never do it again.
It goes back to precedents. They've set a precedent that you can hurt women and you can hurt other people and beat them up. You can hurt dogs, whatever. That the precedent is that you're just going to get a slap on the wrist, and it's probably always going to continue that way. But all roads always lead to JMO. You guys know me. All roads lead to JMO. And if you bet on a basketball game
ridiculous,
from your hotel room while you're out with an ACL injury, you're going to get 6 games. Wow. And the league's going to take money from that entity that you used to bet. And it'll never make sense. The way this league doles out punishment will never,
so you can
ever
go
make sense.
And assault somebody and stomp them into the ground and get 3 games. JMO, go out and stomp on Roger Goodell's head and get your 3-game suspension and add it onto the 6 fucking games he gave you.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Ridiculous.
You want to know what I
Ridiculous.
You want to know what I find wild about that? Okay, if we go back in time a little bit here, right? When on the field of play, Ndamukong Suh stomped somebody out in a similar fashion to, probably in a lesser fashion to the way Alvin Kamara did.
A lot lesser.
Wasn't that Aaron Rodgers?
No, it was Brian Balaga. It was one of the linemen.
Either way, and that was on the field of play amongst 2 guys. He was suspended 2 games. But if you're out in public,
One stomp.
A single stomp.
On the field stomp.
On the field stomp. A single on-field stomp gets you 2 games. But you can go out on the Las Vegas Strip, drunk as shit, beat the shit out of some guy, stomp him out, and you only get 3.
And multiple stomps.
I wonder if it
habitual stomps.
I wonder if it was Roger Goodell. If somebody stomped out Roger Goodell, if if at the Pro Bowl or whatever, one of these guys just beat the shit out of Roger Goodell.
How many games do you think they would get?
Yeah, so there's context at that point. It's who is the player, what position does he play, how many jerseys does he sell, and what city does he play in? And I think that's
So
what
Tom
matters.
Brady.
It's all politics.
Tom Brady drives over to Roger Goodell's house and stomps the fucking dog shit out of him. And I you know what? I take that back. If Aaron Rodgers drives to Goodell's house, stomps the shit out of him, how many games is he getting?
Aaron Rodgers gets no games for stomping Roger Goodell. That's my opinion.
Not a one.
Not one.
Roger
Not
Goodell,
one. You know why?
He plays
because
for the-
Roger Goodell would get up with his bloody nose and kiss Aaron Rodgers right on the ball.
I
bag.
agree.
That's
I
why.
agree.
That's why.
He
It's
plays for
fucking
the Jets,
ridiculous.
which is probably
Come
Roger
on.
Goodell's favorite team ever. He plays for, I don't know that for certain. I'm not. He's just from New York, so I'm guessing he's a Jets or a Giants fan.
Ridiculous.
So he gets no games. Number one, and number two, he probably gets a raise. He says Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, Aaron,
I'm
we're
giving you money
sorry
for
about
doing it.
what we did.
Name
Here.
another player, any other player. Tom Brady gets 4 games for his stomp on Roger Goodell. Because that's
Sorry,
just
how
the
many
magic
games?
number.
He got 4 games for fucking deflating
exactly.
footballs.
It's just the magic numbers. 4 games
Yeah.
for Brady and
It's
Goodell.
the magic number.
Yeah.
Let's move on from there. Marlon Mack. We're going to talk about Marlon Mack, former Colt. I've always been a fan of him. Always liked
I
little
liked
Marlon.
him. I just thought he had some.
Plagued with injury. He's
Yeah,
going to miss
yeah.
the entire year this year. It just came out. He tore his Achilles.
I didn't know he was still playing in the league. I don't
Signed
want
with
to.
the Cardinals
I don't want to
last
sound like an asshole,
He
but
signed with the Cardinals
Okay.
last week.
and he
tore his
tore his shit.
Achilles.
He's out.
Yeah.
That's one guy that should just absolutely never play football again.
No, yeah, I think that's it.
I think that's it for him. It's too bad because he had a promising career, and
Yeah.
once the injury started, he just could not get healthy.
He got Javid bested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least Javid Best was fast enough to join the Olympic team.
That's true.
Yeah, that's the difference.
I don't remember the last time this happened, but all 3 of the big 3 starting rookie quarterbacks or drafted rookie quarterbacks. So what? Stroud was Young was the first overall pick. Stroud at 2, and Richardson at 4.
Mm-hmm.
Are all slated to start week 1 for their teams.
Does that surprise you?
Yes, it does. I mean, that doesn't happen. That doesn't.
Yeah, but
happen in
if you
this
look
day
at
and age.
all 3 of those teams,
they all desperately needed.
they're all desperate.
But see, you know what's interesting about that? I remember not too long ago you telling me that Davis Mills was going to be the week 1 starter for the Houston Texans.
Do we have to go there right now?
Just
You know what?
wanted to remind you.
I just want to remind you something. Davis Mills took an absolute shellacking last year and stood in strong, and I'll give him that much.
Amen.
Let's see if
bless
C.J.
Davis-
Stroud
Davis
can
Mills.
handle the pressure that Davis Mills was under last year.
Davis Mills.
Am I right or
God
wrong?
bless Davis Mills.
You know what kind of pressure he was under last year. Come on, man.
So
And I'll say this: Stroud at least has some weapons. Davis Mills didn't have shit last year.
I don't know if I would call
the
this-
ghost of Brandon Cooks.
I don't know if I would call what CJ Stroud has as weapons.
Okay,
I mean, weapons?
I think he still has more weapons than Davis Mills had last year. Absolutely.
If all 3 of these quarterbacks are going to start, which it seems like it's trending that way, I'm wrong. That's a hot take I had, is that I said they will all start at some point except for Stroud. I thought Richardson would be day 1. I thought Bryce Young would come in. It seems like they are all ahead of the curve of where they're supposed to be. I am excited to watch all 3 of them for different reasons. I'm excited to watch. Like, I think the one I'm going to be most enamored with is Richardson. I think he's going to be doing the most mind-boggling shit. I thought Bryce Young was one of the best quarterbacks to ever play at Alabama. I'm excited to see him be that number 1 overall pick and that guy they build a franchise around. And I just, as a Michigan fan, I've loved watching these Ohio State quarterbacks. They don't do shit in the pros. Remains to be seen on fields, in my opinion. I think Stroud is going to be the one to do shit because he's the most pro-style passer out of all of them. And I'm just excited to see him buck that trend.
that gives you an idea of where college football is at right now.
We have a college football conversation scheduled in at the bottom if we get there. So.
That's how much college football has evolved, I think, in the past 10 to 15 years, is these guys are almost to the point where they're plug and play now. That didn't happen 15 years ago.
If you had to pick right now, and I only need a one-word answer here, out of those three, who has the most successful season? Who is it?
I think it's Bryce Young because I think the Panthers are going to genuinely have a chance to win that division.
I agree.
So you're both on the same page there.
Well, I think Stroud is the most talented thrower out of those guys because he can make all the throws, but I think Young is in the best situation. That's my opinion.
That will be interesting.
I think the Carolina Panthers are better than the Colts, and they're obviously better than the Texans.
So, we have a couple other quarterback controversies going on. It seems like in San Francisco, there's two guys fighting for the number 2 spot, and that is Trey Lance and Sam Darnold. I'll be honest. For me, I just feel like Trey Lance is just...
And he's got an or. People are freaking out because they haven't seen or on the depth chart between two quarterbacks in their lives, and the beat writers and the national guys are like, oh, I've never seen this before. But meanwhile, Michigan football has been putting or on their depth chart, especially at quarterback, ever since Jim Harbaugh's been there. But there's some ors on the depth chart. I'm curious to see how that shakes out. Good for Trey Lance if he's able to climb his way back in. Good for him. That's a lot of adversity to climb through. That's about as much adversity as you can get in the first 3 years of your career. So good for him. I don't think it's going to happen.
That's a tough situation.
It's like Okuda. Like, I don't think it's going to happen, but who knows? Maybe it will.
You never know. Right now, as far as the Tampa Bay quarterback depth chart goes, Baker Mayfield is number 1 with Kyle Trask is number 2. Todd Bowles said this week that Mayfield will start their first preseason game and Kyle Trask will start their second preseason game. Don't forget, John Wolford's also on the roster too.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
When does Todd Bowles officially get fired?
I'm good.
Week 7?
I was thinking about this too. I don't think he makes it to week 7. It could come if they're 0-4 on Sunday, October 1st, after playing New Orleans. They could get rid of him before the bye week because then they're on a bye, and then they have Detroit the following week.
Okay.
So hypothetically, after they lose that,
so you figure if they're 0-4 going into week 4.
Well, I mean,
or is that week 5 going into week 5?
Week 4.
Okay.
Week 4. I mean, at Minnesota's a loss. At home against Chicago, maybe. Probably not. Then at home against Philadelphia. That'll be a pummeling of epic proportions.
So, in other words, if you're telling me if they don't win at least one of those first 4 games,
I think he's gone before the bye week.
I think so.
Because then they come out of the bye week and it's Detroit, Atlanta, Buffalo, Houston. So that may be 2-7 if they're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's gone. I think he's gone at the bye. And they have a week 5 bye, so it'll be pretty quick.
They're going to need that to regroup.
Let's touch real quick here on Gardner Minshew. So they spoke to Michael Pittman, and he had nothing but good things to say about both quarterbacks that are there. I've always liked the Gardner Minshew story. Seems like a cool dude. I mean, obviously, I think this is
I think he's got a bad. If there's anybody that's been dealt a more fucked up hand than him,
I don't know.
That I don't think the guy is not talented. I think he's good enough to start in this league, but it just, I mean.
Okay, so I don't think he was.
You lose your job to Trevor Lawrence.
I don't think he was dealt a bad hand.
No?
But no, I don't think he was ever dealt any bad hands. I mean, it's a bad. Jacksonville sucks, and he seized a really good moment there, and he was great in college. Gardner Minshew was great in college, but he's a career backup. You know, if he's here, he's a backup quarterback, and good for him. And that I don't know if he's the right guy to mentor. I don't know if he's the right guy to mentor Anthony Richardson, but he at least can show him this is what it's like to be a rookie quarterback in the league. Because I think Minshew got in as a rookie, if I remember correctly, right? Yeah. Who was in front of him that got injured? Was it Blake Bortles? I don't remember.
Yes. Or no, but he got benched.
Blake Bortles got benched and they put Minshew in. I don't remember how Minshew got in. I know he came in mid-season. Listen, it's going to be Anthony Richardson, but Minshew's a great guy. As long as he's not fiending with his ego to try and get back on the field, he could be a good guy to have in the back
Listen,
pocket.
his
if you're
last two
Richardson.
gigs, basically, you're in Jacksonville, you lose your job to Trevor Lawrence. Last year, he's in Philadelphia. Obviously, he's not going to beat Jalen Hurts out. I mean, that was obvious. But he played well on both of those teams.
Did he not win?
So I don't think it's an issue. Huh?
Did he win a playoff game with Philly?
I think he was on the roster. I don't know if he. I mean, he obviously didn't
Yeah,
win
he
the
was
game,
on the
but
roster.
he was on the
last year.
roster.
He went to
Yeah,
the Super Bowl.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think he's a bad player. Outside Teddy Bridgewater, I'd probably want him as my backup before anybody else. You know, I just think he was dealt a bad hand. I mean, he went to two teams that have franchise quarterbacks. It's tough to do.
Malik Willis is now officially QB2 on the Tennessee Titans depth chart, above Will Levis.
Okay.
That was inevitable.
See, I didn't see that. I didn't see this coming at all. I was way off on this. I thought Malik Willis's days were numbered.
I just got one question.
Vrabel praised him this week, saying that he has seen glaring improvement.
Ask your question. Go ahead.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Why the fuck did they draft Will Levis? Why? Why?
Maybe it was the positioning where they got him. They're like, oh, we could do something with this.
Yeah, but my God. Why would you burn a draft pick?
Well, because, okay, I think this is what makes sense here. Ryan Tannehill's only under contract for this year, right? And I mean,
So you got Levis next year as a backup then?
well,
Is that what you're
I
saying?
think next year is when your quarterback competition really begins, because I don't think they really give a shit who plays backup this year, right? They're gonna as long as Tannehill has a
saying
pulse,
that
he's
they're
gonna
throwing
play.
the towel in before the season even fucking starts.
I think in a way that they kind of are. I mean, this is the thing.
Unless Tannehill plays outside his body this year.
They're not going to do anything. This was Tennessee's division for like the last 3 years, and now it's Jacksonville's division, right? And then the Colts have reloaded, right? And Houston's trying to reload.
Actually, out of all those teams that you're talking about right now, I think Houston was on top there for a while in the Watt era when J.J. Watt was there.
Yes, but I'm talking-
And then the Colts had their little run, and then they just fucking fell into the dumpster.
In recent memory, prior to last year, this was Tennessee's division.
Okay.
Last 3 years before
Last
year.
2 years, it's been
Right.
Tennessee.
So, Colts got their franchise quarterback now, right? Houston has their franchise quarterback. Both of those teams are on the basement on their way up. Jacksonville's up here. And Tennessee's on the toboggan ride down right now. So I think if they're smart, they let Tannehill go off into the sunset after this year, let somebody else deal with him, and then your quarterback competition really begins next year, in my opinion.
That might
Yeah,
be
but
exactly
what do
what's
they do?
happening.
Draft another
I think
fucking
that's-
quarterback
no.
next year?
No, I think you have your two guys who you're going
Okay.
to see going forward. It's either going to
So
be
you
Will
think
Levis,
either Levis or
Malik Willis.
is going to be the guy?
I do.
I
think they're going
I
to
don't
give
see
them
it.
both this year to develop fully.
Okay.
Because if Mike Vrabel's not full of shit, Malik Willis is showing a ton of improvement. Give him another year to sit there. Will Levis, give him a year to have competition with both these guys. They're only going to improve. And then next year, I think that's when we really start to see what's going to happen. Ryan Tannehill's 35 years old and on the last year of his deal. I mean, and end of story. This is it for him.
That franchise is trending towards dumpster fires.
Right.
Yes.
They might as well bring Carson Wentz in and have him try out for the third string quarterback.
Saudis are going to buy it anyway. So
Oh, they're going to go for the Titans now?
The
I
Titans
don't think the people
unveiled.
of
They have a
Nash-
stadium video that came out today, by the
Did
way,
they?
for their new stadium. $1.2 billion. They're trying to lure a bunch of events. It's got a retractable roof. I haven't
Holy
watched
shit.
it yet. It looks cool.
Aaron
as shit, though.
Rodgers will be a Titan next year.
Hey, you never know.
Wow. $2.1 billion
$2.1
stadium
billion,
set to
sorry.
open in 2027.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
trying to lure some
They got a couple of years
WrestleManias,
to get their shit
some
together.
Final Fours, some Super Bowls.
Will Mike Vrabel be there at this point?
I will say the location of their stadium, fabulous. Right there on the river, right there down the middle of Broadway.
I've never been to Nashville, but I know you can walk to their stadium.
oh, yeah. It's literally, you have Broadway. which
Don't
is-
you think
Gotta
that they
cross the
should
bridge.
change their
Yeah,
name?
you just got to go across the
The
bridge.
Titans?
Yes.
No.
Absolutely.
I don't.
I would rebrand if I was them.
The Bootstraps? The Tennessee Bootstraps?
The riverboats.
Tennessee Riverboats?
Why
awful.
not?
That is fucking awful.
Tennessee Riverboat.
I'd rather them go back to the Oilers if they were going to change.
Memphis did it once. Memphis did it in USFL.
The Tennessee Nissans, the Tennessee Automotives, because all the automotive industry moved down there.
But I will say, so placement of the stadium, awesome. Stadium itself looks like a dump. Never been there, but just doesn't look.
It looks black.
Doesn't look the part. Yeah, it's just very.
It is a cookie cutter outdoor stadium, and it was built. Like those are all getting replaced at the moment.
Correct. Do you want to talk about John Gruden?
Yeah, I do.
Go.
It seems that Gruden, on at least 2 occasions, has been in the building getting unpaid, or not getting paid, excuse me, in the building not getting paid, helping out with Derek Carr. So he's helping his old quarterback. He was at practices last week mentoring and grooming Derek Carr, and he actually did it earlier in the summer as well, and has been consulted by the Saints on how to handle Derek Carr. And I love that. I miss John Gruden. I'm disappointed he left Monday Night Football because I thought him and Tirico were actually very good together. And I hope at some point he moseys his way back into some sort of NFL spotlight. And it's funny, until I saw his name last week, I was wondering where he had been. And it's good to see that he's still existing somewhere.
That's just like.
I like John Gruden.
I know you do.
You know what? I still don't like what happened with the Raiders. I still don't agree with it. I still don't agree how he was singled out. And there was a lot of other people, their fucking names didn't come out. So that to me is bullshit. They singled him out. They tried to ruin his reputation, and I don't agree with some of the things he said, but I don't agree with taking stuff out of content either. And I believe a lot of stuff was taken out of content. That's all I'm going to say.
That's all you're going to say?
Yep.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. Let's move on to some free agent signings this week. Miles Jack has signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. So he was with Pittsburgh last year. He started out his career with Jacksonville. He actually came out and said this week that he didn't really think he was going to get signed, and he was going to pursue a career in plumbing.
Good for him.
Good for him. Yeah. Got to get up and keep it going.
World needs plumbers. World needs plumbers.
Plumbers are probably getting paid than me.
Go ahead, try to call one and see what it costs you.
Yeah.
You're going to need to play in the NFL just to pay for it.
It's not just plumbers, Uncle Sam, and you know that. It's welders.
Electricians.
It's electricians. It's just contractors in general. Craftsmen, you know. Any skilled HVAC, any skilled tradesman. What are the woodworkers called? Carpenters. There's a need for carpenters. The whole 9. So good for him, and welcome back to the league. He was a great player in college. Where did he go? UCLA, if I remember correctly. I hope for the best for him.
Another one that I thought was interesting. Kenyon Drake has signed with the Colts.
They're down some running backs.
They are down some running backs, especially
they need
if
help.
Jonathan Taylor is gone. So that's a very serviceable guy who I think found himself in a pretty good position there. I don't mind that.
So Taylor has not showed up at all.
No, I think he did show up and it got solved, but he's actually injured and he's repairing his injury off-site at the moment. I think
is this the back injury that he's told everybody he didn't have?
It's whatever issue he's had. I don't know if it's the back injury. They just
so now we don't know who the fucking liar is. If it's Irsay or him.
Who's their coach? Steichen or Gannon? It's one of the 2 Eagle coordinators. I don't remember which one. He said we're not worried. He'll be back. We don't really know the specific. I wouldn't worry.
I'm just trying to figure out who's the one that's spewing the shit. Was it Taylor or is it Irsay?
But it's a joint effort. But it seems like Taylor's not going to hold out like Jacobs. I think he's going to play this year, but he's just banged up right now, so he'll be fine.
All right.
So we got Kenyon Drake with the Colts, Miles Jack with the Eagles, Justin Houston to the Panthers. How do you feel about that one?
I like that actually for the Panthers anyway. Listen, they needed somebody when they lost Riddick.
True.
And I think to put him in there opposite of what they have there right now, that's a pretty telling foe. He had a pretty good year last year with Baltimore. I was surprised he was still relevant.
There's a common theme with their signings. They are bringing in formerly savvy vets, and good for them. I think that's a good fit, and I'm not expecting a crazy amount of production. But it's certainly a guy you want in your locker room as a first-year not a first year, but a new head coach, a veteran head
He's
coach.
he's an eight sack a year guy, easy.
Can be.
Easy.
Can be.
And if he has a real good year, he'll get double digits.
One of the last big name defensive guys, who's in my eyes, it's still really relevant on defense to sign was Yannick Ngakoue to the Bears. I love it. I love it. Ngakwe is a guy who still, I think, in the prime spot of his career, he can rack up a lot of sacks as we've seen in the past. He kind of flies a little bit under the radar. Last year he had a nice season. I like the signing.
Yeah, it's a good year to be. You could be productive in that division this year. I think outside of the Lions, there's some really lackluster offensive lines, and he gets to go against the Vikings and the Packers are serviceable, but he gets to go against those.
They're long in the
offensive lines.
tooth. The Packers are long in the tooth on their offense.
They're long in the tooth, and they got a rookie not a rookie quarterback, but a first-year quarterback that's not going to keep plays alive like Aaron Rodgers did.
Right.
So it's a good year to eat in that division, and I know we had a Yannick Ngakoue conversation a few months back, and would have been nice to have him here. It's just another veteran bridge signing, I feel like, and good for him.
1 year deal.
He can
Get
be
him in
productive.
there for a year, yeah.
He can be productive.
I agree. And then one of our all-time favorite guys, I actually remember just being over the moon when he signed here in Detroit. I actually remember listening to the radio when he signed here, and we were in the shed at Gratiot together. Trey Flowers going back home to sign with the New England Patriots.
He's the only guy I know that made $19 million a year and was never a double-digit sack guy.
Just
Only guy I've ever seen.
another botch by Patricia and
Yeah,
Quinn.
he was making J.J. Watt money in Detroit for 7 sacks.
And also, there's been over the years there's a theme of Patriot guys ending up back there and then still being productive. I don't think that's going to happen here. Doesn't.
No,
move
that
the
hasn't happened in quite
It
some
hasn't
time.
happened in a long time.
Well,
I think since Gerard Mayo, I don't think that's happened.
so
Or Patrick Chung.
They did get him at a little bit of a discount compared to what the Lions did. It's a $1.1 million 1 year
My
deal
God.
with up to
Christ
$2.5 million in incentives.
Wow. All I can say is wow. Wow. He's $17 million underpaid.
Mercedes Lewis.
Mercadus Lewis.
I thought I didn't even. I mean, am I crazy for thinking that? I thought he was very much so done. And you want to know what that one reminds me of? The Jimmy Graham one. I mean, these guys just don't want to go away.
How Jimmy Graham? Jimmy Graham is still playing in
He
this
just
league.
signed.
I
He
can't
signed with.
How
Yeah.
long has Jimmy Graham been in the league?
So Mercedes Lewis, a Bear
19
now.
years?
I think Mercedes Lewis is there to. The Bears are going to run the shit out of the ball. That's their plan. He's there to block. He's always been a blocking tight end. Those guys
Good
last a
blocking
long
tight
time. I saw Mercedes Lewis play in college, by the way. I went to USC UCLA in 2005. It was Reggie Bush's last home. I saw Mercedes Lewis and Maurice Jones-Drew. They were at UCLA, and they played at the Coliseum.
Those are some names you're
Those are
throwing
names.
out.
Reggie
you
Bush and
realize
Lionel's
some guys
last
have
name.
been
Out of the league.
out of the league for
long.
over a decade.
I saw them play in college at the Coliseum, and then that was the game before they lost that epic Rose Bowl to Texas. I saw senior day
To
at the
Texas?
Coliseum, yeah. And I
Vince
saw them
Young?
all play. At the time, it was number 1 versus number 10. UCLA, I think, was undefeated or 1 loss at the time, and USC blew them out. So good for Mercedes Lewis. I think this is a swan song, and
Going into year 18 as a Bear.
there you go. Congrats.
Wow, you're 18.
One of your favorites of all time, Jadeveon Clowney visiting the Ravens today.
My God. Oh, what can I say?
All we need next is Vontez Burfict to make a comeback. And then we'll just
I was a huge Vontez Burfict guy. I loved him ever since he came out of Arizona State. I watched a college game with him, and there was a team at the goal line getting ready to score. I can't remember what team it was, but my man stopped them 4 straight times himself. He made 4 straight tackles to keep them out of the end zone, and I was just enamored by him. He was like a heat-seeking missile. He's one of the best ferocious tacklers that I've seen outside Ray Lewis.
Kareem Hunt visited the Saints already. visiting the Colts today.
No, wait. There's a small caveat. He was on the plane. Him and Anthony Barr, separate situations. Kareem Cunt was he got to New Orleans. His agent called him and said, "Turn around and go, and you're just gonna leave because Indianapolis was offering more money. Go work out for them, and it's a better fit for him." So I think he went and visited the Colts. And I think Anthony Barr was also visiting both teams. And Kareem Cunt to the Colts would be incredible.
Well, this was the thing. I saw this morning that Kareem Hunt to the Saints was a done deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was supposed to be a done deal this morning. He was supposed to sign
And then all
with
of a
the
sudden
Saints
he got
today.
on a plane and went to Indy.
Yeah.
I think his agent told him to turn around. And now we'll see how that unfolds.
That one will be interesting. The two biggest names probably still holding out, Chris Jones and Zach Martin. Again, Zolo is quoted as saying these things always get resolved.
Absolutely.
You still think these
I
things
agree.
get resolved?
I think Chris Jones gets resolved. I don't think Zach Martin gets resolved.
You
Really?
don't.
Yeah, because Jerry Jones had some recent quotes on Zach Martin. Chris Jones, I'm hoping there's some injuries and some issues with the Chiefs that I'm hoping hold until past week 1. I'm really hoping Chris Jones is serious about this and doesn't report. I think he comes back that first day of actual practice after the preseason. I don't want him to be there for the Lions against the Lions week 1. And I know Kadarius Toney's probably going to be back at that point too, which was disappointing to hear. I want them to get a crippled. I don't care
I'm
if
going to
you
be
get a
honest with
crippled
you. I
Chiefs
don't think
team.
any of that matters.
No, yeah, you're,
really
you're
don't.
right. You're right.
I don't think that matters.
You're right. That being said, I think Chris Jones gets resolved or he comes back. I think
I
Zach
hope he
Martin
comes
holds
back.
out.
You know what? I hope he comes back.
You want to beat the best Chiefs team possible.
I want to know why? I want him to miss every day of camp till week 1.
Fine.
Okay? Then come back in.
Yeah.
Before we end today's show, I just wanted to touch on a little college football talk real quick. What's the Pac-12 now? Down to like the Pac-4?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
either
14.
4 or 6. It's over. The Pac.
Four.
The
And the
Pac-12
Big
is
Ten's
over.
what? The Big 20?
The
Big 10, I think, is
15?
18 right now.
The Big 18?
18. They're probably the ACC is the next conference on deck. Listen, this is a whole episode that we can do, and
We'll get into that.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
In fact, I really want to do. This is going to be one of the best years ever for college football, and not just because I'm a Michigan fan. It's the 4th time I've said that on this episode alone. This is one of the best years ever for college football for 2 reasons. Number one, it's the last year of the Pac-12 as we know it. It's last year of the Pac-12. So this current landscape of college football that we know, it's the last year. Number two, I think this is the last year of the 4-team playoff. It goes to, 12 teams next year?
Yep.
So college football is going to look completely different next year. But the Pac-12 has arguably they could have the top 4 drafted quarterbacks next year. Caleb Williams, who won the Heisman at USC, who's coming to the Big Ten. Michael Penix at Washington, who's incredible, who used to play at Indiana in the Big Ten and is now at Washington, and they're coming to the Big Ten. Cameron Rising at Utah. Some people think that he's second to Caleb Williams, and then Bo Nix at Oregon. There's 3 or 4 first-round names on that list next year. They all play in the Pac-12 or Pac-10, whatever. It's the last year. It's going to be really competitive and really great. I feel for you, Pac-12 fans. I really do. As people know,
we got to let that play out, because what I've been hearing is possibly the Mountain West would be merging with them.
It
And that's the
doesn't
only way
matter,
they're
though.
going to stay alive.
It doesn't matter, because at that point, it's just Oregon State, it's Washington State, it's Cal and Stanford, which are great, and then the Mountain West, which it's
Fresno.
too late. They had a chance to
Boise.
take in Fresno, and San Diego State would have been a big one for the Pac-12, because San Diego State, from a basketball standpoint, you would have got a team that was in the national championship game this year. It's too late. They dug their own grave. The ACC is doing it now. TV rights deals dominate the money in college football. It's just the way it's been for a while. The Big Ten and the SEC have mastered how to play that landscape, and they've mastered how to be more than regional. The Big Ten brought in Maryland to get the D.C. market. They brought in Rutgers to get the New York market. They have USC and UCLA, 2 of the biggest brands
They're not
on their
stupid
own
at all, are
in
they?
football and basketball. The SEC's been doing it. The next deal to expire and to have issues. So the long story short in the Pac-12 is they just never got ahead of it. They never figured out their TV deal. And these teams are leaving because they're like, wait, why would we get a shitty revenue share when we can go to the Big Ten and get a good revenue share with a good TV deal? The next league that's up to bat is the ACC. The problem is it's bad for their teams to leave their current deal. They don't get to make any money. Do not be shocked if Clemson ends up in the Big Ten. Do not be shocked if Virginia Tech, Boston College, Florida State, Miami, Georgia Tech, some combination of those teams are going to end up in the Big Ten and the SEC. My guess is the Big Ten goes in first, brings their conference to 20 to 24 teams, and they're all over the country at that point. And we are trending towards the Big Two conferences. We are trending towards
I don't know why
the
you
Big
just
Ten
don't
and
do
SEC.
that.
Yeah, I hate it, but also at the same time,
North
I love
versus
it.
the South and call it a day.
It's going
Draw
to create
lines through
better
half the
games.
country.
It's going to create a lot better games, which is great. It kind of kills a lot of tradition, a lot of rivalries. I think the Rose Bowl's a thing in the past, and I wanted Michigan to win an actual traditional Rose Bowl.
When you think about it, though, that stuff has been over for decades.
It has been.
It's been over for decades.
Yeah, it has been.
Yes.
And you're right about that. But it's going to create for more competitive games in college football. The days of Michigan getting away with playing no one and everybody, Alabama plays FCS schools their first couple weeks. Like that's going to go.
That's just the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, you can't play Tennessee,
Citadel?
Chattanooga, in the
Citadel?
Citadel anymore. Like
Yeah.
you're going to have to. Michigan's schedule is going to be, or Alabama for that reason, is going to have to play all SEC teams, and they're going to be good teams, and you're going to get good games, better games. So that's
I'm
exciting.
going to be honest with you. That's why I'll commend Ohio State for one thing and one thing only.
Mm-hmm.
They will go on a road and play in Oregon.
Yeah.
They'll play Washington. You don't see fucking Michigan do that.
So it's funny you say that because Michigan did have some home and home. Like they had Washington scheduled for the pandemic. They were supposed to go to Seattle this season. It got canceled. And Michigan's got some good things on the docket. They have a home and home with Texas coming, a home and home with Oklahoma coming, and they're down the road.
Michigan State do it.
Michigan State does it.
Yeah.
And Michigan was good at scheduling teams until the last 3 or 4 years, and it's just gone by the
because
wayside.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And you know what? You would expect a guy like Jim Harbaugh to step in on that and say, you know what? To be ranked where we're at, they're ranked 2 right now.
Mm-hmm.
You better fucking show something. They got a cakewalk the first 4 weeks.
Yes, but everybody does that.
That's bullshit. dude.
Alabama's been doing it for years.
Alabama plays bug
Yeah, but
buses.
Alabama
that neutral
also plays
site.
the hardest teams in college
That's
football.
true. That's true. But-
During the season.
But you can make the case that this year Michigan had the hardest, the most talented conference in college football this year is the Big Ten East, and that's Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. And then the teams after that, like USC's coming in. So yeah, Georgia and Alabama, who play in different parts of the SEC, are good, and LSU, which plays in the same part as Alabama, which is SEC West.
right.
Yeah, I mean it's coming. College
but
football's narrowing. It's going like this.
The talent level from the SEC to everybody else is vast. It's huge.
I think that.
and that's
I'm with you.
That's a fucking issue.
Yeah, but I think that door's going to start closing here pretty quickly.
It should.
I do.
It should
Michigan-
if you're going to be able to recruit out west now.
Michigan doesn't pay people like those teams do, and still will have that. Like Jim Harbaugh saying, there's a chance that like 15 to 20 guys can get drafted, and that 7 offensive linemen alone could be drafted this year, which is saying a lot because you can only start 5 of them. So that's
And
without
you
paying
just said-
players.
Wait a minute. You just said they're not paying players, Michigan?
Mm-hmm.
They've been playing players for decades. Just like every
yeah,
other.
you know what
You know
I'm
what I
saying.
mean?
Yeah, but the
They
NIL,
also get a $70,000 scholarship every fucking
the scholarship's one thing, but you get the gist. Like the
Yeah.
landscape's changing.
Yeah, I agree. 1,000%. But you want to know what? I like it. I think you're gonna end up with 4 conferences that actually matter, and I think you're gonna have
It might be
More-
2.
you're gonna have a lot more parity.
I think he's right. I think it's going to wind up being 2 eventually.
We're gonna do some more college football talk here in the coming weeks, but for today, that's all we've got for you. But next week, we're gonna look very similar to the way we do now, and we're gonna have our full breakdown of the NFL Top 100. So stay tuned for that. Check it out on Wednesday. And follow us on our socials, Twitter and Instagram at Tipballs, TikTok at Tipballs Podcast. Axe at Tipballs. If you are watching us on YouTube, remember to subscribe, ring the bell, or you can listen to us on Spotify or Apple Music every Wednesday for the next couple weeks, because then when the season starts, full throttle all the way in.
throttle.
Thank you so much for listening.
200 miles per hour.
You'll hear from us next week. Thanks, Bruce.